Welcome to the presentation on working of Hadam, Hardware Accelerated DDoS Attack Mitigator. So first of all, I would like to show you the scenario where Hadam is not used. That is, there is a direct connection. So here you can see a client machine and a web server hosting a website. So the client machine is directly connected through a switch to the web server. So in this case, I would like to show you what happens when a request goes from the client machine to the web server. So let me start a sniffing tool, Wireshark, to capture the packets which is going from the H0 port. H0 port is nothing but the port which is shown on the client machine. So, and let me open a browser and give a request, get request to the server. So I'm going to give the request. So as soon as I give the get request, a page is shown which is hosted on the web server. So if you see the packets captured, you can see the get request goes there and I'm getting a HTTP 1.1 200 OK with the page, with the web page from the web server. Now going to the next scenario where Hadam is installed. As you can see, this is the Net FPGA 1G card from Digilent, which is installed on the PCI slot of the motherboard. This motherboard is Intel. The specifications are mentioned in the report. So the scenario which I am going to mention now is as shown. So here in this case, the client machine is connected to the port in Hadam, that is on the one port of the NetFPGA, and from the other port the connection is going to the web server. So the NetFPGA is sandwiched between the client machine and the protected web server. In this case there is no external switch, but the connection goes through Hadam. So now let me show you what happens in this scenario. So first I have made some notes on some of the commands which should be used. So now first I will download the bit file onto the Hadam to show the entire working of Hadam. So let me first download the bit file onto Hadam. Okay, the programming is going on. So it is programmed successfully. Now the wires are connected. Next, let me start the GUI of the router or Hadam. Okay. So this GUI shows the interface configuration, the routing table and the ARP table of Hadam at present. So this is Hadam is basically a router on top of which the functionality of packet filtering is made. So if you see now, the router configuration is not correctly made. The IP address is not set. So we will just now run a script to populate the entries in the routing table. So so as soon as I run this, if you see the routing table, if you see the GUI of the router, the entries gets populated. So the script has the intelligence to populate the entries in the interface configuration, routing table and the ARP table of Hadam. So as you see, the routing table has been configured and with the proper entries, and the ARP table has also configured with the proper MAC address. So now I have made the connections as shown in this image. The client machine is connected through Hadam through the protected web server, and so I have set the IP address of the client server to 101.1, and I have updated the ARP cache with the proper MAC address of the NetFPGA port. So now, uh, if you see the routing table, so it's properly populated, and also there is a small GUI which is made for the Hadam tool. So just let me go start the GUI. It is basically used to provide the IP address of the protected server. So now I will set the IP address of the protected server to 192.168.101.2. Let me set it here, and I will write the value to the registers. So there is actually a check in Hadam telling that if a GET request is coming from a particular client server towards this particular address, the protected server's IP address, then and the traffic is high, block the, instead of sending the traffic towards the server, Hadam will send a puzzle towards the client server. Only once the puzzle is solved, Hadam will give access to the protected web server. So that is the main aim for giving this IP address. So now let me uh, just see whether the okay, let me write it in. So now if you see, previously it is not written, so now this particular register in Hadam has been updated with the value 192.168.101.2. So now as everything is set, let me just ping to the web server and see whether it is pinging. Okay, so the connection is set. So now as the routing table and ARP cache is set, the connection is happening. So now let me start sniffing the packet and see what will happen when now a particular GET request goes to the web server through Hadam. So I'm going to give a GET request towards the server. So this is a bit long request compared to the other one, because in Hadam there has been some hard-coded values for the prototype which will be removed in the later releases of Hadam. So now I'm giving a specially crafted GET request towards the web server through Hadam. So let me see what will be the response. So if you see now, for the request which I gave, I got a HTTP 1.1 200 OK reply from 2.1, but if you see the MAC address, this MAC address is corresponding to the interface 1 of the NetFPGA. So now Hadam has sent the request back, and if you see the data here, it is actually telling our website is experiencing unusually heavy load, so prove you are a human and not a bot. So now basically Hadam helps us to distinguish between a legitimate user and a malicious user, and prevent bots from logging into our system. So before the web page is given to the client, first he has to solve a puzzle. Only once he gets authenticated, he would be given access to the web server. That is Hadam for you. Peace out.